social media, and it's reignited an age-old conversation about what it means to be a good wife. We just spoke with 2 trad wives and a trad wife in training, and our next guests are being candid about how trad wife failed them. Jenny Gage is revealing how living for 2 decades inside a Mormon marriage as a trad wife left her feeling out of control and penniless. Anicia Templeton says her 10 years as a trad wife were miserable and unfulfilling, and now both women are speaking out as they want other young women especially to avoid similar situations. Take a look.
Being a trad wife means returning to traditional goals, traditional times, traditional life, traditional gender roles. The man is the breadwinner. And so your husband has authority over you.
Whether or not I was rich or poor literally depended on how pretty I was and how good I was at doing those things that men wanted women to do, from the kitchen to the bedroom.
So exactly why you notice you never see trad wives in their 40s advocating for that life. You can discredit this by calling me whatever you want, bitter, jealous, old, gray, blah, blah, blah. This is just one woman with some experience.
I hope that you'll remember, a man is not a plan and never was. Your finances should not depend on somebody being in love with you. That's just not a secure bet.
The marriage is over and you're staying for the kids, and all that's doing is setting a horrible example for them. So I am that example for you. You can leave, you can make it, and you can be way happier than you are right now.
Wow. Please welcome Anicia Templeton here in our studio. Jenny Gage is in her home in Tucson, Arizona. Ladies, thank you both for joining us. So our first half of our show were the young women who are now entrenched in, whether you call it a homemaker or a trad wife. You hit something on the head, I feel. Anicia, in that video, you said you don't see women in their 40s advocating this lifestyle. We know that there are, obviously. Sure. But you were making the point of maybe some of the younger women doing this don't understand the long-term damage, what you see as damage.
Oh, absolutely. Of course it's fun to make paper and crayons and do crafts with your kids. Of course. But life comes eventually. That's not sustainable. Your kids are gonna go to school, life is gonna continue, and then what are you gonna do? When you build your whole life around toddlers and babies, where does your life go from there? You
were in a trad wife lifestyle for 10 years. You said you felt like sitting prey.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Like a pet. You know how you have like a pet hamster, a pet gerbil. You can't let them out because if they run across the floor, they could get hurt. You know, they're so tender and fragile, but they're also at such risk. They're so fragile. They need you for everything. You have to feed them. You have to do everything, and that's exactly how you are as a trad wife. You don't have your own income. You don't even have your own thoughts. You can't. It's his choices. It's what are his favorite foods? You can cook his favorite dinner. What are they? And so you don't even know what foods you like anymore. After 10 years, I couldn't even pick out toothpaste at the grocery store. I would go and think, oh, well, he liked this one. Which one should I get? You lose that ability to make decisions.
Jenny, you have photos of when you were married. You say that you don't recognize yourself in those photos. There was always a pressure to look perfect and pretty for your husband. And when the marriage ended, you were without an income. You were penniless. You had to, I think, at one point, even sleep in a car because you left with nothing.
Gosh.
Yeah, and I feel sometimes like I'm the Grinch who stole Christmas because this trad wife life looked amazing. And for 24 years, I had all of those benefits of the amazing part of it, being home with my kids and the sourdough bread and play dates and going to the park with my children when they were young and all of those things. But 24 years into that, my trad wife life ended very abruptly. And within 3 days, I couldn't pay for groceries at Trader Joe's. Within a couple months, I was sleeping in my car. I couldn't afford to put gas in the car. I was asking friends, literally, I just had friends giving me $20 bills and going GoFund for me so that I could just buy groceries and survive.
Were you
never had an income.
Jenny, how did this trad wife mentality become a part of the decision you made as a wife early on? Were you raised in an environment where these roles were clear in this way?
I have the 2 hashtags. I have ex-trad and ex-Mormon. So I was raised in a culture that's very traditionally.
You were raised in a Mormon family.
I was very devoutly Mormon. So I knew from the time I was like 5 years old when I wrote a little paper in literally kindergarten saying that I wanted to grow up and be an anchorman like my dad, And then I was told, you're going to grow up and be a mom. I knew that at some point I was going to get married and have babies and stay home and cook and clean and decorate the house and all those things that I had seen my mom do. That was really the only option that I was offered in life.
What made you decide? I saw your story in an article. What made you decide to, I know you're not comfortable with saying anti-trad wife, but what made you decide to ring the alarm from your perspective of the damage this type of gender role assignment trad wife trend can cause?
I think that it's something that we're embarrassed to talk about as women. And I know that when I was going through it, I was embarrassed to even tell my friends that I didn't have any money, that the alimony wasn't being paid, that child support wasn't being collected, that I thought that I could go out and interview and get any job that I wanted to because I had all of these domestic labor skills that I thought could translate into career. And I just wasn't getting called back. My first job was $11 an hour. And as I walked through it, I looked around and it's like, I know that this other woman's going through this and my sister's going through this. And I knew that there were other people and we were just too embarrassed to say anything about it. So one day I honestly just
I should point out that you've been sharing your story. We did have to legally reach out to your husband. He denies things that have been said on social media platforms. He says he provided alimony payments, final settlement, and is currently up to date on his child support payments. But separate from the finances of it, you, as you pointed out, don't recognize the woman that was in the photos in the early part of your marriage. And Tencia, you've been very vocal about the social media content. You say it's selling a dream to young girls that doesn't exist. I want to quickly play one of your TikToks. Let's take a look. Sure.
The women that are telling you the trad wife life is amazing are the little 22-year-old, 24-year-old girls that just got in it themselves. I am literally just trying to be dead ass honest. Being a trad wife really sucks.
You know, I understand perspective matters.
Sure.
And journey matters.
Sure.
But some of these people who are over the age of 40 feel that this is the life that worked for them.
Sure.
That this makes them happy. This allows them to be home with their children.
Sure.
And be present. I can tell you're conflicted because it's a tough. You're a tough talker.
Sure. I mean, it is beautiful to stay home with your kids, and it is beautiful to raise your kids. But speaking of the women who are, spent 20-something years being a trad wife, and they do advocate for it, I think they're speaking from a place of, I don't want to admit that the last 20 years were miserable, and I don't have too much to go to the end, so I'm just going to pretend it's been great. You know what I mean? I think everybody was born as a dynamic human. You have all these qualities and things to give to the world. And then to muffle that so that you could make somebody's favorite dinner and fold their laundry. Ooh, you have so much more to give. And when you didn't search that within and bring that out after 20 years, you're not gonna say, oh man, I was so wrong. I regret my whole entire life and now I'm almost gonna be dead. You're gonna say, no, it was amazing and I love it.
We're just getting started here. Coming up, the breaking point that led both Jenny and Anitzia to walk away and why they think right now, as I said, if you go on social media, the trad wife hashtag is exploding. Why is it so popular if it's so bad? That's next. Welcome back, still with us, self-proclaimed former trad wives Anitzia Templeton and Jenny Gage, both women on a mission, you might say, to show the true realities behind the trad wife lifestyle trending on social media. Jenny, the content that we're seeing right now, we had our beautiful guests on in the first segment, and they were saying, this content is really to erase the fear of showing your life. What influence do you think these videos are having?
I know they have a lot of influence because I have thousands of women comment on my videos all the time about how that they want to become trad wives too. Like, this is what a lot of women feel is the thing to do right now. And the problem is they don't give the warnings. Like, they aren't showing the risk. They aren't showing what could happen on the other side and what it looks like to not have anything should that romantic relationship fail.
I know in the interview that I saw that you did or read, you said, I'm more broken than I ever imagined being, but I'm happier than ever. that was after
So true.
leaving the marriage. Is there any benefit to a traditional gender relationship? Looking back at, I know it's a challenging question to ask you, but is there any benefit to it?
There are definitely benefits. Spending time with your children, and you kind of self-actualize with your home and decor and things like that. But I think to me, it's like riding in a car without a seatbelt. Like maybe it's great to have the windows down and the wind in your hair, but if you're in that car accident, you're going to want your seatbelt on. So I don't advocate on my social medias that people completely don't get married, don't have children, don't bake sourdough bread. And if you feel like those traditional gender roles work for you, embrace that, but do it with your seatbelt on.
Wow.
And there are ways to do that.
Wow. Anita, you raise awareness. You share a story on your podcast. Your podcast is called Emerging Motherhood. I want to play a recent episode. Let's play it.
And I think freedom and autonomy and confidence are more important than making my kids think that having a mom and a dad in their home is what makes a home perfect.
You were sobbing.
Yeah.
Why does this bring you to tears, especially if someone else said, my mom has this saying, if I like it, you should love it.
Sure.
If these young women feel, after years and years and years of being told, be a career woman, do this, do that, that defines womanhood, if their version of womanhood is coming home and tending, I think as one woman said, to her husband, why did it brought you to tears?
Sure.
Because it sounds like you're afraid for them almost.
I am, yeah, because I feel like any partner that wants you to sacrifice so much of yourself just to support them does not have good intentions totally.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's why they start out so lovely and beautiful, but human nature is going to take over. And eventually down the road, after 10 years, when he realizes, well, she's never left before, I didn't have to do that last time. She didn't leave. Well, we got those vows. They're always going to lean on these things. And then you're the one that's just stuck. Like, I feel like I didn't totally understand the risk and the seatbelt. And it does bring me to tears because I don't want anybody else to go through that and to feel that loneliness and to feel that feeling of, wow, it's been 10 years wasted. What did I do? You know, it's a horrible feeling.